Well, welcome everyone to Beyond Psychology with Joanne and Sarah. And today is a show that I really wanted to create about what does freedom mean to you? And one of the reasons is because it's going to be Sarah's birthday. So I'm going to say happy birthday to Sarah.
Thank you.
And it's 4th of July, the birth of our country founded on freedom. So that's really been on my mind. So, freedom really is a concept I find as a foundational construct or concept for Americans that we really hold dear and want to nurture. But I want to look deeper at what does it mean in the bigger sense or inner sense of how does it affect us as an outside concept of freedom to our country and also an inner concept to ourself. Because the outer concept, I think a lot of times we look at fighting is something associated with the concept of freedom. Freedom is
Hmm.
not free, or don't tread on me was actually the first flag that we had in the Revolutionary War. And it was a yellow flag. You've probably seen it with a snake on it. And it's interesting how that snake has been coming up lately for me, but it really symbolizes transformation.
Hmm.
A snake needs to shed its skin or let go of the old that restricts them to grow and thrive. And that's what I'm feeling right now with this. But I do want to feel, or I really have been feeling more and more as I've been thinking about this show for more inner growth of what do I need to shed in my inside world to feel free. And I do feel it more as growth and expansion of being more of who I need to be. And so my gauge or one gauge of inside freedom is more about my truth. And the outside world may even see me striving for expressing my truth or freedom as a gauge of nonconformity or even rebellion or weird or their version of what freedom means. Um, and and sometimes that fear can bring up through judgment from others.
Yeah.
And so freedom to me, I want to talk about it. And that's what this show's really become. I feel like, Sarah, is how we are kind of putting ourselves out there. And it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but
Yep.
I want to feel we're expressing what's important to us.
Yeah, I think
Do you
that's a
feel
big
that?
principle of what we're doing. We're talking about something that most people don't understand. And when they don't understand, there's a standoffness. There's
Mm-hmm.
also, we may perceive it as judgment, but possibly it's really them trying to understand within their own mind, their own life, their own context. What are we talking about? And when they can't make those connections, where does their mind go? So yeah, it can feel like judgment, but at the end of the day, freedom to me is an important aspect of what we do to speak our truths, to move inward and find our own voice, and also allowing everyone else around us to have that freedom as well, and be okay with someone having a different opinion than us.
That's beautiful. Because I mean, like when you're saying that, I hear kind of inclusion
Yeah.
or division. And it's like now I look at our country a little bit and I'm like in that form, there's like a lot of inclusion and there's a lot of division if you don't believe like I do.
Hmm.
Um, so that's interesting. As we kind of just again, we're just going to be there today and express what we're seeing and feeling. But I've had this interesting thing this week of getting reintroduced to Alice in Wonderland. And it brought up these kinds of feelings of maybe going against like our mind's own fear thoughts of staying safe by being conforming. Don't say things that somebody else might think you're whatever. But my
Yeah.
spirit mind just wants to go beyond this and feel free. And even if others don't see it as what we call maybe normal, and in the movie Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter asked Alice if he was going mad. And she replies, yes, you are. You're mad. You're bonkers. But I'll tell you a secret. All the best people are. I just thought that was so sweet. I'm like, yes. And then I kind of, as a mental health professional, it hit home as well in several ways because being crazy, and I put in air quotes, is one of our greatest fears, I think. And I see many of my clients and even being afraid of being perceived as crazy to go to see a counselor. And they'll
Yeah.
say to, that to me, and I'll say, oh, jokingly, crazy people don't come here. They don't put a step foot in this office because they think they're fine. And I say it in a joking way, and they're like, you're right. Those people are kind of out there, aren't they? They don't usually see them. Yeah. So they're willing to look at their stuff.
Mhm.
And I had a client this week, and this was for a psychiatric service dog evaluation, which they can use as a treatment to be able to go in public and do more things in their lives. And I've seen her a couple times, but boy, this year I'd never seen her so locked down and in fear, and even fear to express how she was doing or felt. She felt it was supposed to be a secret. No one should know how she was feeling or even thinking about it. She saw it as a weakness. But then, as I started looking her symptoms and diagnosing it, major depression in the severe range, obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD, and bulimia, or throwing up her feelings is what I see bulimia is, or trying to control her world so rigidly, which I see as obsessive compulsive or OCD, or repressing and pushing down her feelings so hard, goes into major depression. So I call her even emotional phobic, so afraid to even feel any emotions, that fear was so big, somehow would come back and harm her. And I just said, I wonder now, does she even feel free? The,
I don't
the
know how she
freedom to
could.
talk about it?
Yeah.
I know. It's like sad.
You know,
And
on an energy side,
mhm.
I see a lot of stuck energy within people. And to me, that makes a lot of sense when your emotions, which are tied to thoughts, which are tied to an energetic pulse going through your brain, has a frequency. And when it cannot be released or let go, we start pushing them into places, and we have these
In our body.
in our
And that's where I'm
bodies.
seeing that. It's really in our
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah. So, I mean, not only the thought part of it, but that's when it turns into something physical. I mean,
Manifest into other things.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I see this every day. And it's so kind of heart wrenching. And one of the benefits I really do see of people having an emotional disorder psychiatric service dog, that is one thing they find benefit. They find reassurance. They find a comfort. They find that if I have my dog, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And other people kind of poo-poo that sometimes, like you need you don't, you look fine. But this inside feelings are just so intense for them. And that's one of the things she said. I got to make sure nobody sees
Mm.
that I'm feeling this inside. And all I could think of is, oh my goodness, all the emotional energy it must take to hold all this so rigidly together and
Yeah.
locked down. It's just kind of got to be a really hard life.
Yeah. When you think about what that emotional support animal is doing, they're that safe space. And, if you can have anyone to be a safe space, it's your pet. And I can see that benefit and that being the only avenue,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
many people. If they don't feel safe talking about it or sharing with their family, their friends,
No one. I said,
no.
not even your mother. No, she would
Mm,
make fun of me. I'm like, oh my, no support, but her dog. You're
yeah.
right. Yep. Well, I really want to go more into what freedom really means to me in that sense, even if I do kind of ruffle feathers, because I do think this is important. at times that if people can't say what they mean, be truthful with their words, I think it makes the world harder. It's like we're guessing. I think, I think about dating. And it's like, you got to put this false everything on as you meet this new people so they like you. Well, wouldn't it be better to be true and just allow the truth right off the bat, who you are, whether they like you or not, instead of putting on this false everything? And I hope you like, no, be truthful. Even if they don't like you, then move on. At least you kind of not wasted time.
Yeah.
Um, but I do see this that many of my clients really do fear expressing or feeling emotions and they avoid them. But as I go really deeper into my awareness and understanding of my purpose, what is important to me, it really does feel like I am not normal in a sense, as the gauge from the outside world. And especially, most people gauge it with the amount of money you make, the number of sales you make, the number of listeners you have, the number of downloads you must get. To me, if I focused on that, that would drive me crazy because I just feel, or I don't know if listeners can hear the one sidedness of that. If you don't make that, what does it mean if you don't make those numbers? Uh-oh, I'm bad. I'm a failure. I'm a this or I'm a that, which to me is very left brained. I'm going to call it. Literally, we have a right and left brain, which that left is more analytical and the numbers, and we do consider it more male, where the right brain is more creative and the emotions. And why not bring these together in the sense of being more creative and emotional? You need the numbers too, and you do need to meet some goals and things like that. But let's bring it together so it's not an either or an or. Um, is what I'm kind of feeling here. For because what I really find that people, it's like dare. I say dare to find true freedom inside or expressing your truth. And emotions are part of that, to being truly you. Um, and unlike my client, it's just not safe, which to a lot of women or a lot of people, that masculine world can feel unsafe because you're not meeting these strict needs, the numbers, or else you're obviously a failure, or as she said it, weak.
Oh,
And I can hear that a lot. Emotions are, you're seen as weak, and it's like they're emotions. Why don't we look at those as just an expression or giving us a message, but putting a judgment on them, boy, that's really makes your, to me, life harder. So really what I want to share that I really choose for everybody today is really feel more connected with ourselves
yeah.
and maybe with our natural rhythms, with nature and all the animals, since we really are mammals on the earth, that maybe part of our role is really to experience all of this. And I know a lot of times you're going to do a meditation on oneness. And this kind of came through also with this. And maybe I am going to go into more of what I was even feeling is important is freedom. Does freedom include the earth?
Mm.
Does the earth have so-called rights in that sense to be expressed through us? Because I feel like in our spiritual life, we're going beyond. A lot of times you talk about channeling things and accepting things and listening and grounding in the earth, or really looking at how, like, does the earth have the right to be clean or the air to be clean or the water to be, and as we connect, I think, more with our own freedom, do we need to be more expressive of the earth's needs? What do you think?
That's an interesting concept that I think is very foreign to most people.
Yeah.
Coming from an energetic point of view or mindset, I see the earth as having a spirit, a soul, a consciousness,
Yeah.
and I guess where is that line that we want to draw? I see every person having a soul and a consciousness within them, but I also see that within animals and plants and the planet herself. So I guess it depends on how people view that. Do I view she has desires? The planet have desires? And yes, I do.
Yeah.
But I understand I'm also looking at this in a way that most people, it's hard to wrap their mind around.
But do you think it's a disconnection? Because that's what I think I'm going with this for freedom. As I go inward and feel my wishes and things, if I look at what the earth is saying right now to us, as
Yeah.
it's warming, as there's more tornadoes and floods and fires, that maybe that is the line and the limit, that the earth will accept and accept and accept, but maybe that connection or her freedom is now being stepped on a bit. And maybe we need to be connected or listening a little deeper, because I think that's what I mean by the rhythms of connecting with the moon rhythm, which is more feminine again, the cycles of the way nature has with spring and fall and transmuting the leaves to ground to dirt to come back for flowers in the spring. That is she also entitled to, or maybe she's expanding and growing as
Yeah.
well, and we don't think about that. And I think sometimes we don't realize we're animals or mammals and think of us in the ecosystem of the earth. And if we were more thoughtful, maybe, or connected in different ways or awareness, maybe we could all get along better.
Yeah.
Whether it's the outside world that we were talking about, that's more about numbers and things and producing, is that producing freedom for all of us, including the earth?
Yeah. Well, our next show will be about oneness, and really the concepts that you're
Mm.
talking about is the oneness that I see of the earth, because the earth is an energetic field. We are part of the energies and actions and ecosystem of the earth. And part of that show will be understanding how do we fit in and how do we
Yeah.
connect, because as earthly beings here that our water and earth really cells, minerals within us, and we really are meant to connect into this earth and be part of her ebb and flow. And I think that's exactly what you're referring to, is
Yeah.
naturally we are part of this energetic network. And I feel like the ability to have the freedom to walk into that and choose that and feel the ebb and the flow and speak our truths within us, to me that's what freedom is. It's really the ability to stand alone in my belief system, but being connected into everything around me, the
Mm.
the the planet, the people, the there's just an unconditional love that comes with that is part of being a unit, a collective. But I think on the flip side of that, there's oneness, and then on the other side there's individuality, and seeing yourself as an island, disconnected from everything else, or
Mm.
only connected to those who are like you. And that
Mm.
individuality is that piece that pushes us out of the system. But we'll get into that more next week. But
That's
that's a
beautiful,
bit about it.
because I think that's where I personally wanted to go with this in that way, because and as I just grow my awareness, it's going to that place of one, it's going into the including the earth, it's going to that place. And as I was even thinking about this, how that individual piece of my job, right? I produce things in a factory or whatever, or, I'm a counselor and I talk to people, but all of this is so intertwined, but I'm not sure we really think about it in that way. And
Yeah.
that the purpose, your individual purpose and passion, it puts you in kind of an earthly position of sorts, that you're contributing, taking away, polluting, in making sure it's sustained or whatever. It puts us in, well, and I think that free will piece that you had brought up earlier when we were talking before the show, I think that's part of what we're talking about, that doing what we're meant to do, expressing who we are, and exploring and being curious and experimenting in the world, that we must. I just feel like there is this calling and we can't ignore it. And I think that's part of the Earth's way also, but she also has a way to do the same to us. And if we are not kind of in synergy or working together, we'd be working at odds, just like that inclusion or that division that sometimes we do or have been feeling, especially in this country right now. And maybe we're even talking about that, that we're talking about how can we individually stand in our truth and be who we are, and be individual and be inclusive. And so that's a kind of a new or different kind of duality of that sense. But it's almost like including everything: the earth, the sky, the moon, the stars, the universe, and everybody's individual position, and not feeling judged. I feel like that is the piece that I feel like is part of the division that creates the divisions. And again, it reminds me of Alice. I'm telling you guys, watch Alice in Wonderland again. I got so much out of it. I can't believe it, because she's saying in this, and I forget who she was talking to with this one, 'tis love that makes the world go round. That's if it's done by everyone minding their own business.
I love that.
Isn't that cute? But I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what we're talking about too. And I didn't really think of that as we did it in the beginning, but the inclusion and exclusion of what is happening here, maybe in our country, and how coming together as true freedom is allowing, like you said, everyone to have their own position, everyone to have their own experience.
Yeah.
And it's kind of none of your business.
Right.
You don't know what I'm here for. How can
Right.
you judge what I'm doing when you don't even know what my inner soul is telling me?
Right. Yeah. And in energy work and a lot of the communication that I have had with my guides and teams, we talk about the concept of free will a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
and as we have this conversation, I just see so many connections between the word freedom and free will. And and it's a completely different package that I'm talking about it in, but it really ties through so much of what you're talking about and the point you're getting to. And my guides and the information that I receive from them, they really look at free will as honoring your choices. So if you choose something, you are choosing an experience and you
Mm.
are choosing a path. And and everyone has the ability and right to choose their own path, their own experience here. And by honoring what they choose to learn, we are honoring them as a person and as a
Mm.
soul, as a consciousness, as a purpose of why they are coming here. And I really like that connection of, um, you know, working with these divine and enlightened beings. They want us to have our experience here that calls to us. And I love that continuity and acceptance of, hey, this is the experience that you are walking into
Mm.
and choosing. And it's a beautiful way to look at everyone is right. They're just choosing a certain experience. And maybe it's what they need to understand and walk through, but ultimately it's their choice to experience, the world around them in that way. So, and that is honoring their free will, their freedoms, their purpose that they feel called to.
And as you say that, I think the question becomes, how do we do that without judgment?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we do that without saying you're wrong? You're saying everybody's right, no matter what. And I think that does almost take an enlightened being, a Buddhist monk, to be able to understand these principles in a sense that, like Buddhism or a lot of
Yeah.
religions are based on, of the non-judgmental, having patience as a virtue. Those trust, just trusting the universe is right in everything that happens. And it brings me even to like climate change. So that's right. Question mark. But in the sense, it's an experience, isn't
It's an
it? Whatever's
experience.
going on. And if we can take the, oh my God, I'm going to die out of it, about everything that seems like crazy in the world right now, and just say,
Yeah.
oh, this is an experience.
Yeah.
It's not right. It's not wrong. I'm just having an experience. And it brings me back to that don't tread on me flag, the first flag. And as I watched, that was in a Benjamin Franklin documentary, this little boy, he was a drummer that just joined the Revolutionary Army. He was literally a boy, and a kind of an abandoned kid, basically, but he knew how to had a drum, or somebody handed him when he knew how to play it. He drew this flag, this yellow flag with a snake on it. Don't tread on me. That just became the what the Americans was started for. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tread on me. Allow me to have the experience
Mm-hmm.
as an independent country, not under a king that you have to do what he says or you die.
Yeah.
And so we've grown in 200 and whatever over the years into a country that is based on freedom, choice, and let's now add the freedom to have the experience
Yeah.
of what each of us needs to have, as to me being true freedom.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, everyone, feel free out there as you do whatever you need to do. And we send you that kind of energy right now to express that any way you need to safely. All right. Thank you, guys. See you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.